Today we're here to talk about the navigation between screens of the OmniLink 5100 MPC control with the 805 operator terminal.
Link Systems 5100 MPC manual press control. We will be providing navigation instructions to assist operators, maintenance, and setup personnel with helpful tips. This is the Link Systems 805 operator terminal. It's utilized with the 5100 MPC press control. I want to point out a few features of the screen. There are boxes outlined in blue. These buttons or switches are used to navigate from one screen to another. The top section, which is a blue field, will cycle through different sections and modes. These different choices show different views, different information, and different language selections. In the upper right-hand corner, you can toggle between language of Spanish and English. This change goes through all screens and each subsection of the control. Note the key selector switch on the 805 terminal. The key selector must be in program in order to make changes to the jobs and also to the pages. Only when you're in program are certain touchscreen buttons available. Conversely, you must be in run mode in order to stroke the machine. Navigating from the main screen. We know this is the main screen because it says at the top of the page, main screen. The main screen or home page shows you all of the subsections available on the control. The main screen displays all of the configured plugins or features. The status of each of these features is also displayed and shown in green, meaning OK, yellow, not ready or bypassed, and red, there's a problem. The sections are press control, die protection, limit switch, tonnage monitor, link net networking, jobs, counters, and motor page, which allows you to start all motors available to be started through the screen. Your screen may vary depending on the features that are configured. Press control screen. From the main screen, to navigate to the press control, press the press control button once. It goes to that page, and the page will be featured in white, displaying that you're on the current page. Information available on the press control screen includes the stop time at top and mid-stroke, as well as the clutch engagement time. This page also features a shortcut to the motor page, which we'll talk about shortly. You also have the settings for the critical angle, which we'll talk about in the configuration and troubleshooting. We also have details under the reason for last stop. These details can help to find out what caused the machine to stop at the last executed stop point. From the press control screen, tap exit and you'll find yourself back at the main screen. The next page we will look at is die protection. So we hit the die protection button. From here, we see information such as channel type, description, and state. You'll notice that the particular channel we are looking at is shown here. From the die protection main screen, we can go into channel settings. This allows us to configure each channel's monitoring capability based on the sensor or probe. From here, choose the channel type. Notice the yellow on-screen indicator prompting you to change the run program key. In order to change the channel type, the run program key must be in program mode. Choose the channel type from not used, static, cyclic, transfer, or in position. Once you select the type of sensor, you will now have additional settings available, such as how you want this to stop, immediately or on top. Additional information like, is this channel bypassed, yes or no, you'll see that here. You also see the delay time setting for sensors, which in this case is 0. To select other channels, press Next Channel until you arrive at the channel you're looking for. Let's take a look now if you select Transfer. Additional logic settings are displayed to allow you to customize this to your needs. Naming the sensor can save time by showing the function of the sensor. We can see the settings which tell you the angle of acceptance where the sensor transitions. If it's outside of this window, and the sensor then will be ignored. You can also see the transition for that switch, sensor, or prox shown in black. Looking at a cyclic type sensor, as seen here, you can see the window angle where it turns on and off. You can also see it visually from 350 to 90 degrees. Exit here, and we're back at our home screen. Programmable limit switch will look a lot like die protection. Press the limit switch button, and you'll see that there are 4 PLS shown here. As in the die protection, we have a channel setting button. Press the channel setting button. On the limit switch screen, you'll see the channel mode and description for each of the PLS channels. This will describe not only what is being done, but how the role will be performed by that channel. Counted outputs allows you to set an action based on the number of changes and trigger the PLS based on those changes. You can also set this to not used if you have no advanced functions. Setting up a PLS, you can choose on at a certain angle and off at another angle. You can also set 2 transitions for a PLS, on and off, and then on and off again within 1 stroke. We now return to the main screen. Press exit until you're back at the main screen. Tonnage Monitor. Press the Tonnage Monitor button on the screen. On the screen, we see the total tonnage plus the tonnage for each channel. Also, we have the capability of viewing our reverse tonnage total, and each channel, we can also see their status. The indicator status tells us exactly what's going on. Going into channel settings allows us to adjust the tonnage limit up and down. You can see that the channel tonnage is within the configured high and low limits. The limits that are configured for both forward and reverse tonnage we see here. As an example on the screen, the high peak limit is set to 69.7 and the low peak is at 59.6. Our current reversal limit is 21.5. Setting reversal load. Going to more than 10% is against most manufacturers' recommendations. In order to set these limits, there's a simple method when you have a brand new setup and a new tool. use auto setup. To use auto setup, set auto setup tolerance to 10%. Caution: new tools are the only ones you should use for auto setup or when a tool has been recently maintained. Do not use this function for every setup. Execute auto setup for 16 strokes. We have the capability of bypassing your tonnage monitor. You can bypass it by low limit, auto, when you switch into the production mode, and also bypass low limits in the setup mode. In the tonnage monitor bypass screen, you can see the number of strokes for your low limits. You can also turn your low limit on and off, reversal limit on and off, and turn bypass on and off. Press exit to go back to your main tonnage monitor screen. In order to reset a tonnage monitor fault, press the reset button. Press exit to go back to the main screen. Job storage and recall. Touching the field on the left-hand side of the screen will navigate you to the jobs page. The 5100 MPC with the 805 terminal gives you the capability of storing up to 100 jobs. Once you have completed the setup of a job, you've set the die protection, programmable limit switches, tonnage monitor, set up your serial communication, and the motor strokes per minute, you are now ready to store the job. Press Store Setup. You can store a job or even overwrite a job. You can now give the job a job number and more detailed description. Job recall. When recalling an existing job, you have several options. You can sort your jobs by number, then press Recall Setup, cursor down and highlight the job, then select it. Another option is to just press the Recall Setup and enter the job number. To recall a setup, a yellow warning message with a caution to make sure that you have the correct job and tool selected. Remember, entering the wrong job can be hazardous and costly. Press Recall Setup. Job correction or overwriting. It may be that you have changed a parameter. Maybe the speed of the job has changed and you increased the strokes per minute. Maybe the feed communication setting has changed and the feed length is no longer correct. Once you've made these changes, you can go back in and store the job again under the same name and overwrite these parameters. It will ask you to confirm this change. Press yes. Your job now has these stored changes. Press exit. To erase a job, select the job. The highlight job will now be deleted. You can get a confirmation screen and you will need to press yes if you choose to confirm the deletion of this selected job. Once deleted, press back and back again to the main screen. From the main screen, select counters. There are several counter choices included in the 5100 MPC. Part, bin, quality, scrap, job head count, and stroke count. Stroke count is like the odometer on your car. Whether you're running a tool or running a part, it will always keep track of that movement. In each of the counters, you can select the number already completed and the max limit for this style of counter. The counter must be on in order to count. If by accident you have cleared the part counter in order to run, say, a hot job, you can enter back the number previously completed in the first field. Part count is the example here. Once you arrive at the count, you will need to reset the count in order to continue. The scrap counter in the example shown here, we have a part counter limit of 500 and an actual part count of 26 with a bin count of 4. Incrementing your scrap count will decrease the number of actual parts in your part count and in your bin count. If you decrement the count, perhaps you've removed a part and held it for inspection and it turns out to be okay. You can decrement the scrap count, which will put those numbers back into those counters. Under counter settings, you can configure if you are counting by machine strokes or sensor counts. Under configure, you can choose the number of parts per stroke. So if you have a 2-out die or a 4-out die, etc., you can make sure that the counterparts matches the correct number of parts you've actually made. Counter frequency is in case it takes multiple strokes in order to create one part. If it takes 2 strokes to create one part, you set the frequency to 2. Minimum must be 1. Press exit. Press exit. Motor start screen. Press the motor start touchscreen. In order to start the motors, from the touchscreen you must first press the motor start enable push button. Then press the lube motor start first, then the main motor start. You can now adjust the speed from this screen also. Select the strokes per minute, increase or decrease the number. This will speed up the press or slow it down, depending on which way you have selected. Press exit. Mode of operation. The mode selector key switch allows you to change modes of operation, including the most common, inch, single stroke, and continuous. Additional options of auto, single stroke, and continuous on demand are available, but require configuration and special safety precautions. This has been the 5100 MPC navigation. Additional videos are also available for troubleshooting and configuration, as well as videos for our other controls.